Hmm. Tau yahu kunatea. Ma e toyo kutaheya. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this YouTube live where I am going to have a sip of my cacao. It's the leftover from the park where we were just at, me and some other light workers. So today's theme is coming down to the idea of staying centered within your own power, staying centered within yourself, and being in an allowing, loving space where you can find you. This is part of what I didn't know this as much before. I mean, I've been speaking on this for a long time, but I didn't know it as clearly until kind of recently how important, I mean, recently, as in a few years ago, I learned this idea of staying strong and healing yourself deep down inside. And as you begin to get stronger in your own inner space, as you begin to heal, because all of us have some form of trauma, some form of fear built into our system, some form of trauma based in different experiences that was hard when we were growing up or when we were little, or at some point in our teenage years or in life in general. We've all experienced trauma, sometimes serious, like deeper, and sometimes not as deep. But every single one of us have had something. Now that leaves a block in our system. It sets up a blocking of our life force energy. As this blocking of our life force energy happens, it's very easy for us to get weaker, that we don't get strong enough to actually be conscious of our own choices. And when we are in that space, it's really easy to be swayed by other people, by outer pressures, and by peer pressure to do this or that thing, whatever that thing might be. And when we are in that space, when we are not standing in our own inner space, in our own inner healing, it's very easy to fall victim of other people's doings. And in this kind of a healing session, that this is not a healing session right now, this is a live YouTube talk. And thank you for coming on here and listening. And feel free to comment, feel free to share any ideas and thoughts and feelings that come up for you. The the interesting thing is that when we are in a space of non-healing, we are not in our own power. And when we're not in our own power, we try to gain power from the outside, from different kind of things outside of ourselves that can make us feel powerful. So we go into, and some people want to make a ton of money so they can feel powerful. Some people want to find that right partner so they can feel powerful. Some people want the right career or drive the right car or whatever it may be strong enough, go to the gym and get huge muscles so we can be strong enough to not be afraid of other people. Whatever it may be that we are all afraid of, those are the things that we are um, giving away our power to. And when you begin to heal, when you begin to look into yourself, and if you're able to be like, oh, something's going on with me, I need to look at it, I need to look at what's happening inside of my own body, my own system, then we begin to grow. And then we can begin to find different solutions. We can begin to find different ways of healing. Um, and when you do, right there, as you start seeking, as you start looking around for your healing methods, some people find counseling, some people find church, some people find different kind of therapies or different kind of breath work, yoga, whatever it might be that you find on your journey. There are, they usually lead us to another step, one healing facility or method may lead to a deeper method, to a deeper method. And then at some point you come back home where you understand that there are things in your system that need to be cleared out. And as we learn how to clear them out, as we learn how to breathe into the trauma, breathe into the contraction, right? Because a trauma in our body will cause a contraction in our system. When we have that contraction, we feel powerless. So again, we're coming back to having trauma in our lives makes us feel powerless and makes us look outside of ourselves so for a solution. And in some ways of looking at it, if we look at what we call the matrix, which is, our whole society is built up in a certain way, that we are taught already since we're little, from childhood, we are taught to give away our power. We're taught to say to a teacher, yes, you're right, and I'm going to learn to do what you tell me to do. And of course, there's nothing inherently wrong with learning, right? Learning can be beautiful. But the way we are interpreting learning, the way we are giving our power away to somebody else. So if they give us an A, that makes me a good person. And if they don't give us an A, I must be a bad person. And of course, yeah, sure, we can say, well, you didn't do your homework. Well, as a human being, when it comes down to life worth, and it comes down to your right to be a human being on this planet, you truthfully don't have to please somebody else in order to be a fully upstanding, complete human being. And that's where the matrix has kind of lured us into a fallacy of feeling less than, unless I'm accepted by the masses, unless I'm accepted by this or that entity, and they give me a pat on the head, then I feel good. So we give away our power. When we talk, and this theme of today is Light Workers Unite. That's what I talked about last Saturday, and I'd like to speak on that today as well, because it goes deeper, right? Light Workers Unite goes deeper. It comes back into finding people who feel the same way, of like-minded people, like-minded individuals who are in a space of wanting to find their way home, wanting to stand strong within themselves. And the way I now look at what we're doing here is we're reaching out to other light workers, people who want to stand in their own light, who want to stand strong within themselves, are reaching out to each other. And we're starting to find people who we bind together basically in the ether, right? Energetically speaking. And the internet is a helpful version for us to connect through, right? It's a helpful way for people of a similar mindset to connect. And if you are seeking freedom, then I would like to be one of those people who can stand with you in that freedom seeking, right? One of the people who can stand and say, yes, you have a right to choose. Whatever the choice is, you have a right to choose. And nobody should ever take away that right to choose. And that's just bottom line. That should be a human right, period. And there's kind of in my world, there's no other way about it. And so when it comes back home, you find your inner light. You start to shine. You can feel it deep inside of you already. You can feel the activation of light in you. And as you start to feel that, you know that you're looking for other people of the same frequency, of the same energy, of the same light. And I'm one of those people that I hope you find. And then I hope we all reach out to each other. That's how I started feeling. The other day I was at a restaurant. I overheard some people, when they came in, they looked at me and we bowed to each other. And I realized right away that we're on a similar wavelength. And I reached out and I handed out my card and we changed information. And the week before that, I met somebody else in a park who walks a similar walk as I do, a shamanic walk. And it's beautiful to begin to connect with more and more people who stand strong on their inner spiritual conviction. Their inner spiritual stance is strong. And when we can stand strong in that space, then it doesn't really matter what the outside world will tell you. It doesn't really matter what's going on outside, as long as we stand strong inside of us. And I'd be happy for comments. I'd be happy for an interaction. So if somebody's on here to give comments or leave thoughts in that way. The let's see, where are we? I have my little notepad. So yes, one of the ways we can strengthen ourselves is through meditation. It's both inner healing work, but meditation is a very, very good tool for anybody to go into and find your truth, right? So that's how one way we all have to help ourselves first, right? Like, it's an interesting conundrum that I never understood earlier. I never realized when I was on the airplane and people were always saying, you got to put the mask on yourself first. You got to, and then put the mask on the child, right? To me, I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. I want to save the other person. What I didn't realize is that if the oxygen might drop so fast that if I don't put the mask on myself first, I may not have a chance to put the mask on the other person too, on the child. And then two people are gone instead of me saving myself first. And so when we come into that, when we're looking at the healing, we're looking at standing in your light, we're looking at meditation. What I want to encourage you is to strengthen your practice, your spiritual practice, your meditation practice, you coming back home to you. Feel free to comment, everybody. Feel free to write and say something if you have any thoughts on this. The meditation is an important part of my daily life, and it's an important part for many people when they want to make progress on their spiritual path, which means we become a little stronger inside, which means we put up an altar. I have an altar set up. I ask the four directions, the winds of the south, east, north, and west, and a few other spiritual guides and power animals to come in and hold sacred space for my meditation or my session. And always, it works wonders. Just like when I ask Pachamama, Earth Mother, to hold me in her embrace, her life embrace, there's a feeling of connection to the whole world. And for me, as I started doing this practice with actually opening up sacred space, it became a very like in the beginning, I just said the words, and I don't think I felt much in the beginning, but I had understood that it was an important practice. So as I sat longer, I started doing it more. And after a while, those practices become rituals and they become very powerful. So when you sit in you set up a little altar for yourself in a corner of your house or somewhere where you can sit a little bit undisturbed. And when you have that corner, you sit there and you're going to charge that area with your spiritual energy. It's something that the Buddhists are talking about. This is something that happens to churches. It's something that happens to many spiritual centers. When you walk in there, you can feel it. You can, if you really sense into your body, walking into a church or into anything, you can usually feel like, oh, that there's something there, that people have been worshiping in those rooms, spaces for a while. And when we create an energetic field in those spaces that can help us feel stronger connected. And that's the same thing you can do with your altar and your meditation corner. You set up an altar, you open up sacred space. And as you've done that for a while, if you do that for a little bit, you'll start to realize and recognize that there are several, what you call them, like several benefits from doing that. Your mind starts going, when you see your corner, your altar, your mind starts going to, oh yeah, I need to sit. Oh yeah, I need to meditate. Or even just walking by it, you feel the energy of worship. And then when you sit, it strengthens your energy and your power to feel more connected. It strengthens you into that field. It's a beautiful experience. And I encourage anybody on the spiritual path or who wants to be on the spiritual path to pursue that. Because as we feel, like if you feel, you may not feel this, but I can feel that sometimes I think the world has gotten a little nuts. that sometimes I feel like the world has kind of lost its marbles a little bit. And if you feel that way, it will help you to sit and come back home in your meditation, come back into your center. Because as you do, you create an energy field that starts in you, and it starts to affect your room, it starts to affect your home, it starts to affect your life. And it's a beautiful process. And then also then when something doesn't ring true, when you see something in the media or somewhere where that doesn't ring true for you, you can go, uh-oh, this is crazy. I'm going to stand on my own conviction in this case, and I'm going to see where that takes me. Because as we move into a deeper level of consciousness, we know that the future is unwritten, right? The future is unwritten, and as you raise your sense of consciousness, your level of consciousness, your awareness, you change the trajectory of your future. Just like if I don't stay in my sacred space on my spiritual practice, I may very well become, in a way you could call it a victim, but you could call it like I might become a victim of my own temperament, because I sometimes have a temper. And if I don't watch out, if I don't stay a little more centered, it's easy to get really angry. And if I were to get really, really angry at the wrong time, that could have consequences for the rest of my life. And what I don't see is that if I stay centered, those consequences will be lifting my life upwards. Staying centered in a spiritual sense of the word will be healing, right? Healing my life. I make better choices. I stay calm when I used to get angry. And when I don't get angry, I don't have to go to jail. I don't have to get in trouble, and I don't have to either hurt myself or other people. Um, so, and in that sense, the spiritual path can be very, very important, at least for some of us. And I kind of believe that it's important for all of us, because I do believe that, regardless of if you have issues, as I used to have much more of a temper than what I do, um, and or if you have feelings of being afraid all the time, or if you have feelings of not fitting in all the time, or if you have feelings that I have to control my eating, otherwise I'm not good enough. I have to control this or that, otherwise I'm not good enough. Or if you have to go and drink to feel like you fit in, these are all signs that there is a trauma in your system. These are all signs that you could heal something. So when we come in to this deeper space, and now I'm going to go back and talk about the light workers. When you begin to heal your inner space and you become a light worker, because many of us here who are watching this video, many who feel this are light workers, regardless of if you're on the path already or not, but you're a light worker. You can feel the calling to it. You can feel that, oh God, yes, I want to do something good for the world. Or you already know that you're in that space. The more people who wake up to that inner calling, to their inner light, the more we're going to be able to create a strong force field of that light. And it's a beautiful, beautiful energy, right? And it's also important to step into your light, because sometimes when we look at the world right now, there's when we get stuck on what we could call the insanity out there, what we could call the matrix of fear, the matrix of you should be afraid of everything. You should be afraid of this and that and this and that and this and that. And if you don't take what we are offering you, you are going to die, and you're a part of the problem. When you live in that fear of the matrix, you're giving away all your power, right? When we step into the light and into your strength, we can unite in that strength, and we create a very strong force field that can help people break out of their own matrix, help people to find their own freedom, because it's about an inner freedom. It's about an inner peace and inner knowing that comes through these journeys. It comes out through these experiences that we all have. As you start studying, I don't know if you have studied any of the big spiritual teachings throughout the ages or not, or if you're just on your own journey and you're going into meditation, or you're going into one of the modern guys or girls who are teaching mindfulness, or they're coaches out there, or Tony Robbins teaching positive thinking, or any one of those things, that all of them carry a certain level of truth, and maybe not all of them are as close to deeper healing as others are. But as you start looking at all this, you'll start to see how we're in a big shift right now. We're in a major shift right now. And this is shift is the matrix is trying to really, really take control of everyone. And then there are people who listen inwards and go, no, no, no. I'm sorry, you can control whoever you want, but not me. Whoever you feel like you want to control with your fear mongering, with your anger, with your negativity, but not me. So and that's the beauty of this path. The beauty of this path is that you stand in your light. We don't really go into the anger. We don't have to go into the negativity or the fear of either side. We stand in our light. And that's a pretty different, it's almost like you become a beacon, right? And a beacon for others, right? And then everybody starts reaching out. And we're creating little networks, little feelers of people who can help each other stay strong in their own light. And personally, I feel like that's a very powerful path we're on. You can't, that's almost like, I forget who said that. I don't know if it was Martin Luther King but you can't kill an idea. You can kill a person, but not an idea. They talked about that through the French Revolution. They talked about it through different things. So this is another thing, right? So when you create a spiritual path for yourself, you facilitate your own healing, and you start to listen to your intuition. Where does this healing come from? Are you coming to a shaman? Do you come to somebody like me? Or do you go to a therapist? Do you go to a massage therapist, a hypnotherapist? Do you go and work out? Do you go and how do you do? What do you do to find your deeper peace? What do you do to find your strength inside of you? Because when we facilitate our own healing, we become much, much more strong in ourselves. Of course, as a shaman, right? The shamanic path has to do with connecting with your spirit guides and connecting with your power animals and connecting with a lot of different forces that are working in what we call the unseen. Because the unseen is the frequencies and the dimensions outside of what we can see with our regular eyes and outside of what we can hear with our regular hearing. Sometimes you can hear it. Sometimes I'll hear words and stuff coming up, but often it's a sense. Often things come to me energetically. And often that can really, really help people and myself. So facilitate your own healing, which makes you a kind of a rebel in yourself. The rebel in you is when you can stand strong in yourself. Is when you don't have to fold and be afraid. We know that this darkness that's coming over our world right now, that it's passing. All of it is passing. All the stuff that's going on around on TV and all of that is going to pass at some point. And it might get really dark first. The way it's developing right now is very, very dark. But if you stand in your light, you know what happens, right? When you turn on a light in a dark room, the dark vanishes. So as you stand in your own light, you will be much stronger than any of the outside forces that are trying to take over. And that's why I go on these YouTube lives. That's why I do the meditations, the activations, the healing work that I do. I'm so grateful. I'm so very grateful that it came my way. That in a way, in an odd way, I was chosen for this. I always wanted to do this, but I didn't know how. And then people showed up in my life who said, we're going to take you on this journey. You're going to come on this journey. And it was beautiful. It was very beautiful. So now I've been equipped with tools and knowings and methods of how to help people. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to do. Let's see. So bottom line is, as a light worker, we unite with other light workers. As a light worker, you connect with others. We reach out over the Instagram, over the Facebook, over the YouTube. In our own reality, we reach out and connect with other people of a high vibration. That way, you become stronger, much stronger. And it's a beautiful way to both build a community and to be in the center of yourself. So we're going to do a little bit of a drumming, just a little bit. So we're sitting here together, and I just want to help you feel into yourself for a little bit. There you are. Take in the drum. Breathe into your body. Create space for what's in there. Any memories that come up, breathe into them. Breathe into the memories, the things we don't want to feel, breathe into it. When you bring your awareness to this, the memories, the feelings will not overcome you. And you're able to transform the things in our system we're trying to avoid feeling. And as we have said before, the battle that's going on our planet right now between what we could call light forces and darker forces has connections to other dimensions, connections to intergalactic happenings. And you can find out a lot more about this when you do your deep dives here on YouTube or on other social media. In my case, it became my personal experience. It used to be that I thought people were pretty crazy that talked about that. I thought that, my God, they're off their rocker. But I also didn't really want to judge anybody because I was like, okay, well, that's their belief. But as it became my experience, it also became a part of my reality. And then reality shifted a little bit. Then there was more opening possibilities. So as you move into your own energy, you open your mind. Instead of having a closed mind, we open our mind. And we drop our minds into our hearts. And we can feel that opening, and that happens when we do that. Yes. See, when we take off our thinking hat, when we take off our mind hat, and we feel into the energies and the frequencies that are present in our world, in our bodies, when we remember the love that's in our heart, it becomes so much easier to feel our inner power, to feel our inner strength, and to feel who you really are, your original self. Yes. Yes. Sit with yourself. Breathe into your body. Connect deeply to other light workers. Connect deeply to the universe. Yes. So when it comes down to it, and I don't want to be repetitive, so I don't want to keep going too long here. But when it comes down to it, light workers unite. Whatever differences we think that we might have, it's better to step into our own light, our own love, our own hearts, and connect on that vibration in that frequency. So we don't have to be, well, that person believes this, and I don't believe in that, and I don't believe in this. No, let's step into your heart. Remember, nobody can force you to do anything. Nobody can force you to do anything. There are certain basic human rights. They're kind of a right of all sentient beings. And humans have often broken those rights, right? When we create zoos, when we create animal parks, we break the rules of the animals, right? We don't respect their integrity. We don't respect their energy or their right to live. So we put them in cages, we put them in small enclosures for our own entertainment. And it's very ugly from an energetic point of view to rob something else of their freedom that way. And, in a way, cities, in one way to look at it, modern society, our modern world, we have created human zoos with our cities, human animal parks with our cities, where many people are getting stuck in a city and they can't really go anywhere. And we have created a lot of pollution with that too, right? And hopefully within a few years, within 10, 15, 20 years, maybe we all have had enough of an awakening to understand we're here to help the world get better, not take from the earth as much as we can. Hopefully we can connect with that deeper knowing, the deeper wisdom, basically the wisdom of the shamans, but it's the wisdom of deeper knowing. Anybody can know that in their hearts. And then, no matter how dark it looks now, it's going to turn out to look better after this darker storm has passed. So stand in your light, stand strong inside of you. Be very mindful of where you get your information. Be mindful of how you listen to it, how you take it in. And have a beautiful, wonderful, lovely day. I'll talk to you again next Saturday. All the best. Namaste and aho. Peace out, everyone. Thank you for being here. Whoever was here, thank you, thank you. This was beautiful. Stay strong in your light.